Alright, we're making cinnamon bread today, but before we get started, the first thing we need to do is clean our hands. So if you can wash your hands with soap and water, that's the best thing to do. But if you're in the classroom and you don't have access to a sink, then you put some hand sanitizer on your hands and make sure they're nice and clean before we get started. Alright, who likes cinnamon and sugar, and who likes it on bread and with lots of butter? That's what we're going to make today. Cinnamon bread made famous by Dollywood. So let's get the ingredients ready. Alright, to make our cinnamon bread, we're going to need half a cup of warm water, 3/4 of a teaspoon of dry yeast, and just a pinch of sugar. And then we're going to need 1 tablespoon of sugar. We need half a teaspoon of salt, 1.5 cups of bread flour, and then we need 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter, melted and cooled. That's the same as 28 grams on the scale. Alright, the first thing we need to do is put our yeast into the warm water. And make sure it's warm. If it's too hot, it's going to kill the yeast. This is what's going to bring the yeast back to life. And then when the yeast come back to life, they're going to need food. So that's what that pinch of sugar is for. Now once we got that in there, we're going to mix it together. See how it turns cloudy like that? And we're going to let this sit until it gets foamy. It'll take about 5 or 10 minutes. Okay, see how our yeast is nice and foamy now? That means it's ready to use. That means it was good and now it's come to life. And you can even smell it. Can you smell that? It smells yeasty. And now we're ready to mix our bread ingredients. So we're going to put our 1.5 cups of bread flour, our half teaspoon of salt, tablespoon of sugar, and we're going to mix that together with a whisk just to make sure that that is nice and mixed together. Then we're going to add our melted butter that's cooled. We're going to mix that together. And now we're going to add our yeast, water, and sugar mixture there. And we're going to just mix this together. This is going to be just wet and all. There's not going to be any loose or white flour together. This doesn't have to be mixed perfectly right here because we're going to put it on our stand mixer with our dough hook. So let me put this over on the stand mixer and I'll meet you over there. Okay, now we got our bowl in our stand mixer, okay? And we're going to put a dough hook. This is what's called a dough hook. This is when you make breads and different doughs. This is the attachment that you use. So I'm going to hook this up. Okay. I'm going to raise it up. You don't mind if we have Pillsbury Doughboy help us out here, do you? All right. So we put it up, and we're going to put this on medium speed. And when this goes up to medium speed, we're going to mix the dough for 8 minutes. Okay? So we're going to turn it on up to medium speed. And we're going to let this go for 8 minutes, and then we'll be back to check on it. Alright, this is how our dough ball looks when it's done. When it's done in the mixer, okay? This is how it's going to make the bread now. But you just pull on it, and see how it's not breaking? That means the gluten is called gluten. That means the dough is strong enough to be able to make bread now. Alright, now what we're going to do is you can use oil or butter. I've already put butter on this bowl. That's to keep the dough from sticking. And we're going to take our dough ball and we're going to put it inside the bowl. Then we're going to wrap it with plastic wrap, or you can cover it with like a pizza pan or something like that. Would work as well. And then we're going to put this in a warm spot, and we need to wait 90 minutes, which is the same as an hour and a half, and then this will rise, and then we'll be ready to go to the next step. Alright, so this is how our dough looks when it's risen. You just poke it, and if it comes back slowly like that, that means the dough is properly proof, it's expanded as far as it's going to go, and it's ready to be shaped. So we're going to kind of make it into a log shape, so it'll fit into a loaf pan. And we're going to push it down. And I'm going to measure it against our pan to see where we're at. So that's about there. All right, so now we're going to put it on some parchment paper like this. All right, so we put our bread dough on the parchment paper. We're going to let it rise again for 45 minutes to an hour. We're just going to cover it. I'm just going to cover it with my loaf pan here. You can cover it with plastic wrap or another sheet tray, whatever you'd like. And we're going to heat the oven up while this is resting, and we're going to make the topping for our bread while this is resting. Okay, now we're getting ready the ingredients for our topping. We need 1/4 cup of white sugar, 1/4 cup of packed brown sugar. We need 1 tablespoon of cinnamon. We need 6 tablespoons or 85 grams of melted butter, and we need 2 tablespoons of corn syrup. Alright, first thing we're going to do is mix together our sugars. We got the white sugar, the brown sugar, and now the cinnamon. Now we take our whisk and we just whisk these together. Break up any lumps if there's any in there from the brown sugar. That cinnamon sure smells good. Do you like the smell of cinnamon? I know I sure do. Can you smell it? Okay, now we're going to set this off to the side. Now we're going to get another bowl, and we're going to whisk together our melted butter and our corn syrup. Corn syrup's really sticky like honey, so I need this little spatula to help me get all of that stickiness out from this little bowl. See how sticky that is? Make sure you don't get any of this on your fingers. All right, there we go. Now we're going to whisk this together. Now that's all ready. Now all we're waiting for is our bread dough to rise, and then we'll be ready to go on to the next step. Okay, our dough is ready to be baked. So what we're going to do is we're going to take, this is called a lame, just a razor blade with a handle. You can just use a sharp knife if you want, but what I'm going to do is make slits across the top. So this way the air can escape when the bread is baking. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is, remember that butter and corn syrup that we made? We're going to take our bread and we're going to dip it inside. I should say our bread dough. I keep saying bread. It's not bread yet until we bake it. So we're just going to toss this around in our butter and corn syrup mixture, and you want to be careful with the bread so you don't deflate it. Okay. This is a little messy. You might want to wear gloves for this. And then we're going to take our cinnamon sugar that we made and we're going to sprinkle it over the top and the bottom, okay? Make sure you get a lot on there, especially if you like cinnamon sugar. Now it's all nice and coated. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick it in my bread loaf pan. As you can see, I put a piece of parchment paper that I folded and it's hanging over the edges. That way it's going to be easy to take the bread out when it's done baking. I'm just going to lay this right inside. Okay. Now while our bread is in the oven, then we can make our glaze. Okay, now our ingredients for our glaze. We're going to need 1 1/4 cup of confectioner sugar, which is also known as powdered sugar. We're going to need 2 tablespoons or 28 grams of melted butter. Yeah, there's a lot of butter in this recipe. And then 3 to 5 tablespoons of milk, and then a pinch of salt. So we're going to mix together our glaze ingredients together in this bowl. So we got our powdered sugar, our pinch of salt, and our melted butter. I'm going to take our little spatula and make sure I get all of that butter out of there. You don't want to waste anything. Okay. Now we're going to start with 3 tablespoons of milk. Let's see if we're going to need more. 1, 2, 3. And then we'll whisk this up and see if that'll be enough to make our glaze. That's looking good. We don't want it too runny. So I think that'll do it. I don't think we're going to need the other 2 tablespoons of milk. Okay, so this is the consistency you want. You want it runny but not too runny. So that will make a nice glaze either for the top, or you can serve it on the side as a dipping sauce, whatever you choose. Okay, our bread is ready. We're going to lift it out of the oven with our sling. See how that works? Now we're going to let it cool. Okay, want to let it cool for about 15 minutes and then we can eat it. Alright, who's ready for a piece?